Hello, my name is Wayne Alexander, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to create service and apply resources to that service within CRM 2013. I work for Outsourcery and we provide CRM training. So the example that I'm going to do today in this demo is I'm going to create a service for CRM training, and I'm going to apply the appropriate resources to that service. Now, services tie in with a service activity. So, as you know, a service activity it is an appointment, but within CRM, it gives you the ability to schedule these appointments based on the time of the actual appointment, the service that you select, the site that you select, and the resources that are available. I also did another demo or video on business closure. Now, business closure ties in with services and service activity, because as you know, whenever you create business closure hours within CRM 2013 and you attempt to schedule a service activity, it won't schedule on the days that the business closure hours have been set. Okay, so let's take a look at setting up a service. So first thing I'm going to do is just navigate over to the settings area of CRM. And coincidentally, I'm already in the right section. I'm in the business management section, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on services here. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to do an example where I'm setting up CRM training. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on new to create my new service. And let me go ahead and give this a name. As I always say, try and be as descriptive as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and call this CRM training. You'll notice here we've got initial status of reserved. You could also change the statuses to in progress, arrive, requested, or tentative. With scheduled, I'm just going to go ahead and select in progress. I could give a description of what this service is about, which I will do. So I'm going to say on-site CRM 4.0, CRM 2011, and CRM 2013 training, both end user and system admin. Okay, the default duration, how long does this training last? Well, for our training it's 4 hours, so I'm just going to go ahead and select 4 hours here. You've also got this starts activities and you'll notice by default it's set to 15 minutes. Now the whole idea of this may not be applicable in this case, because we work 8-hour days, and if a training session lasts 4 hours, then you can only really fit in 2. But you can imagine if it was a schedule or a service which only lasted half an hour, the system would like to know, okay, if the service lasts for half an hour, how long before you can schedule the same resource for another service on another site. So this is what this will be used for. But I'm gonna put this as, let's say, start every 30 minutes. Beginning at I'm not gonna say 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and change that to 9. So I'll say for CRM training, it would always start at 9 a.m. Now you'll notice at the top toolbar here it says required resources have not been selected for one or more selection rules. So in order to complete the service, we must add the resources, which makes perfect sense. Now, two ways you can add the resources. You can add them by clicking on the links on the left hand side here, or if I hover my mouse over resources, resource group, or selection rule, I could add my resources and selection rule that way. Let me just get rid of that. Now, the only difference between resources and resource groups are resource groups allows you to select multiple resources at once, whereas if I was to go ahead and click on resource, I will select one resource at a time. Now, before I add resources or resource groups, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the selection rule here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on selection rule. And the reason why I've done so is because I just want to show you what happens in the selection rule area. So I can select the quantity of resources to schedule for this particular service. Now, for this particular training, for this service that I'm doing, which is training, I'm going to leave it on 1. But just to point out, you could actually say, actually, no, for this particular service, I need multiple resources. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on 1. If I expand scheduling details, you'll notice here also select criteria. By default it's set to random. I could change that to least busy or most busy. So this is done based on the service activity, where you could select whether you want the least busy or most busy, but you could actually stipulate in the service, okay, when they're selecting this particular service, look at the resource that is less busy, most busy, or you'll notice by default it's left on random. And finally, last but not least, the capacity required. You'll notice that's a required field, exactly like quantity. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and add resource. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the resources. Now, resources is not just limited to users. You could have a situation where you might need to add facilities, or you may need to add equipment. So by default it's set to look for users. I could actually say, actually no, I want to add my equipment, maybe a resource group, maybe a team of users. I'm just going to go ahead and first of all select my users. Let's see, so I'm going to say my manager. Let's add a few other members of the team here. And all I'm doing is saying that these people are available to perform this particular service. I should really add myself as well. And I'm going to go ahead and click add here. Now you'll notice when I click add, another box pops up to say if you plan to reuse the same selected resources, you could save them into a resource group. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. So you could, it's just saving you hassle in the long run of having to keep on selecting the same resources over and over. You could just add them to a group. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say yes, let's add them to a group and call that group CRM training and click OK. And there you go, the resource has been added to members of the CRM training. Now with these services, now service activities are based on selecting a particular service and the site as well. Now this service by default says choose one from the same site. Now if I was to go ahead and just click on the same site again, click on the same site, you'll notice here by default it says same site, or I could select any site. So in other words, what that means is when I'm scheduling the service activity, if the service activity if it's multiple sites where I'm scheduling my service activity for, if I was to set that to any site, the system would know to go ahead and select any of these members from this particular group for any service activity based on any site, which I'm going to go ahead and do. So let's go ahead and select any site. So what have we done? We've just pardon me, we just created a service for CRM training. Gave it a description to say for CRM 4 2011 or 2013. Duration of the service will be 4 hours. It begins at 9 AM, and I've added the resources that will be needed for this particular service. Just bear in mind, I've only selected users. If I wanted to, I could also select facilities and equipment. So if this was a service where I needed particular equipment, so let's say it was I don't know, you're scheduling plumbers to go out to do a particular job. Maybe they need specific equipment, so you can add equipment to a service as well. So it's not just people that you can add, but it's also equipment and facilities too. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and hit save, and that service has now been created. So what I could do now is I could go ahead and go to my service activity and schedule my service activity based on this particular service. One thing that I should also mention is that these resources that we selected coincide with their working hours as well. So within user records you can schedule what their working hours are. So in other words, if Daniel Barber starts work at 1 p.m. and doesn't finish until 9 p.m., and we created a service activity for 10 for CRM training, then the system would automatically look at the user's working hours, see if he's available, and if not, then automatically exclude him from that service activity because it's not within his set working hours. Okay, so that's how you set up a service within your CRM 2013 system. Thank you.